Hello again. Hopefully lunch was sufficient. Okay, thank you. Prior to beginning the next session, I wanted to acknowledge a question that came through from the virtual space to round out the business session. And the question was essentially, what is the difference between an eager proposal and a research initiation proposal? Which I thought was a really valid question. And so briefly, the Research Initiation Awards track within HBCU-UP is intended to support faculty discipline-specific research on their campus and or in collaboration with other universities or other NSF-funded labs. However, that track does have some limitations into the eligibility of the PI. Mostly in that the PI of said proposals should not have received external research funding within 3 years of the due date. Those types of limitations do not apply to eager proposals. And so they are very similar in that, of course, eager proposals would support discipline-specific research in the same way. However, eager proposals typically are on, as Joyce described, as untested exploratory topics, okay? Whereas with research initiation awards, these are typically grounded in evidence-based research where the PI is looking to build in some new way. It is likely, or it is possible, that there could be an exploratory component of an RIA grant, but really the limitation is in, or the difference is in the eligibility criterion. And I will also underscore, as it pertains to eager proposals, when we receive those proposals, please note that the HBCU-UP program is situated within the Directorate for STEM Education. We do have directorates that represent the research directorates that represent other discipline-specific areas. And so very often we receive eager proposals from the community that have the potential to be aligned with a program solicitation from a different directorate. I want to assure you that we do our due diligence of making sure that your project, whether or not it's appropriate for a different program. So if you are interested in pursuing the eager mechanism, we will engage with our colleagues across the agency in those various disciplines to get their perspective about the exploratory nature of your work and also identify whether there is an alignment in a different space. If there is alignment with another program, we will put you in contact with the appropriate program officer in that program and encourage you to submit your proposal through that mechanism. But certainly, and often, if we find that there is not alignment or that there is support of that said eager proposals from our colleagues across the agency, we will certainly entertain those proposals. So thank you for the question. Thank you, AAAS, for putting the question in the guidebook. I hope that individual's question has been resolved and that they are still with us. So thank you to our virtual attendees. And also thank you to AAAS. There were a few other questions just regarding the accessibility of some of our future sessions, and AAAS has already resolved them. So we wanted the virtual audience to know that we received them, and feel free to continue to engage. That said, I want to bring up my colleague, Tomas, who will help us kick off the next session. Thank you.
What a wonderful meeting this is. And you know what a sign, hallmark of a great meeting is? Is when we can transition smoothly from feeding our bodies with most excellent crab cakes to feeding our souls with the highest caliber of intellectual food. And that's exactly what's going to happen now. Ladies and gentlemen, our plenary speaker, Dr. Erin Lynch, is the president of Quality Education for Minorities, QEM Network. She is working in strategic planning, program development, educational assessment and evaluation, systems change, inequity, centeredness. She produced over $600 million in proposals and published in the topics of leadership, HBCUs, innovation, management, and instructional design. I am so pleased and excited to introduce to you Dr. Erin Lynch.
Good afternoon, colleagues. So that bio, I appreciate you, Thomas. The bio is a little dated, but that's okay. It's 860 million in proposals. And I've PI'd about 48 million in awards. So if you are unfamiliar with QEM, those who know, right? And so we're very excited to be able to present some of our recent work because it's about you. So we are excited about this project. The We HBCU TV project was funded by, this is the right clicker? Yep, perfect, okay. Oh, my numbers are missing, that's all right. We HBCU TV project has been funded by the National Science Foundation through the HBCU-UP mechanism. We started in October. To date, we have been to 29 HBCUs. We have interviewed 255 people. We have been to 7 states. And the number of projects we have covered, I couldn't even track because it goes beyond just NSF. We're looking at DoD work, NASA work, NIH work. But don't tell NSF that. Okay. So just so you give context, conversation. Okay, so that'll be eventually. All right. So context, it is a digital network for HBCU research and innovation. So we are literally a network. You can find us on Apple TV currently. You can find us on your iPhone app. Roku channel is coming out soon. And so what we're going to do today is hot off the presses. You all are the first to see our most recent documentary. It is the first cut. I am a social scientist, so I'm learning all this stuff about media right now. So this is what's called the first cut. We still have some tweaks. We still have some additional scenes and some storytelling to do. But what we're going to do today during this session is you all are going to watch this next documentary today. And then we're going to have a discussion about what's missing from the story. What should we capture in a way that really represents what's going on at our schools, okay? And so for context, we are traveling, capturing as many stories as possible about the work that we're doing. And then after that, I will tell you a little bit more about what we're expecting to do for next steps, okay? So we can cut to the documentary now.
Welcome to Innovation Unveiled, a series dedicated to unveiling the research and innovation occurring at our nation's historically Black colleges and universities. HBCUs are historically underfunded to the tunes of billions of dollars, and yet they still produce a third of all Black scientists in this country, 50% of all Black engineers, and 80% of all Black veterinarians. Yet, with this underfunding, we still overcome all the odds to be able to succeed in research, infrastructure, and development. Join us today on Innovation Unveiled as we pull back the curtain on infrastructure. In 2021, national headlines began emerging for what many HBCU administrators and executive leaders had known for years. HBCUs were being underfunded to the tune of billions of dollars through federally mandated state dollars. But how did we get here? How did our schools get to a point of missing out on billions of dollars? Especially the HBCUs founded in the 1890s under the Second Royal Act of 1890. They were founded to strengthen research, agricultural extension, and teaching in food and agricultural sciences through research. And under a combination of federal laws like the Hatch-Smith-Lever and Evan-Allen's Act, and the National Agricultural Research Extension and Teaching Policy Act of 1977, land-grant HBCUs are supposed to receive a dollar-for-dollar match for every federal dollar from their non-federal, typically state, resources. But when schools are underfunded, We know there's an impact on students and faculty alike. But what about the HBCUs that aren't 1890s? How do they fare? How do they build? How do they grow in the face of historical divestment in HBCUs and their infrastructure? So here at Barbara Scotia College, I have the honor to have a conversation with you, President Chris Ray. Please tell us a little bit about the history of Barbara Scotia and why this school is so emblematic of the history of HBCUs.
So Barbara Scotia College was founded in January 1867. It's the second oldest HBCU in North Carolina, the 17th oldest HBCU founded in America. And it was initially founded as a seminary school for newly freed African American slave females. And so the Presbyterian Church was responsible for founding Barbara Scotia College. And so our first president, Luke Dorland, Reverend Dorland, made his way here to Concord, North Carolina, found the property, said that this was going to be a great place for them to create an educational institution for female slaves that were just newly released from the Emancipation Proclamation. And so from when we started, humble beginnings as a seminary school for women, to where we became a thriving HBCU in our culture, producing some of the most influential individuals to make a difference in the country. Yeah, Barbara Scotia it has its place in history. This is the old library.
Okay.
And then there's a lower level.
Okay.
And then, but then if you go around the corner here, there are additional classrooms on this level here. So as you can see, that this was
The addition.
this was
Yeah.
right. So we have a whole library in there. I mean, not a library, a whole museum of historical artifacts with Mary Code and other individuals. Yeah, we got first edition. First edition of Robert's Rule, right? I think we got like the Gideon Bible, it's this here. This of course this is kind of one of the things that's not happening. I wanted.
What was it?
It was like their school of education. Okay. That was like their school of education. So I want to, we're going to revitalize that at some point. Of course, these are the honor dorms that we have that's over here, that, with the pillars. And then these are cottages in the back, what used to be for alumni. So, but eventually what I want to do is I want to tear all of that down. I just tore down one house recently, an old house. I want to tear all of those down, and I want to build over there with the science, right? The future, science and innovation and technology.
The history of HBCU's contributions globally to research innovation is one fraught with rich history, but poor support. And for schools like Barbara Scotia and Concord, North Carolina, sometimes there's a sense of feeling alone.
We are in a space now where, we love to say around here, Barbara Scotia rising, right? BSC rising. And because we know that we are coming out of what has been a very tough 19 years as an institution, not having accreditation, and losing our footing. So when I took the role as president, I remember the day when the interim president handed over the keys to me, and she drove away. and I walked out onto the steps of the administration building, and I looked around the campus. For a split second, I felt alone.
But they are not alone, because HBCUs all across the country are trying to figure out how to build, grow, and sustain infrastructures to engage in the national research ecosystem.
When I started 4.5 years ago, as we were going through what we call the hard reset, I really asked myself some very, very detailed questions. What do I want Morris Brown College to be known for? And how can we separate ourselves from other HBCUs and other institutions of higher learning and have some very, very unique, innovative programs? And so as we were having the conversation, because we weren't accredited, we literally were starting over, right? In the city of Atlanta, I kept hearing this esports, esports, and I had no idea what esports was. And so I started doing some research on it, and I saw that there were not that many colleges that had degree programs or certifications in esports. And so again, starting from scratch, I said, wow, it'd be amazing if Morris Brown College could start a degree, because I was looking for a STEM program, but I didn't even want to just do traditional computer science or information technology. So what can we do differently? And so ran across the program, ran across the field of endeavor, and I had my dean of business at that time. I said, look into this and see how we could potentially bring the program to Morris Brown College. And we started from scratch, put together a curriculum, and the rest is history.
When the Board of Trustees asked me to be the president of Miles College on an interim basis, mind you, 4+ years ago, one of the things they asked me to do was to raise $100 million. And I said, you know, my background is corporate America, and I basically said that I can raise money, but only after the college has gone out and shown that we can bring funds into the institution. And the way I wanted to do that was through grants. We had one federal grant at the time that was Title III, not competitive, but you can lose it. We had some major grants in the past, but we have gone now from one federal grant when I came in 2019 to about 22 major grants, and many of those are research related. So very, very proud of what our faculty and staff have done to get us to this point. And I'm not going to tell you it was easy.
Building a research infrastructure is not easy. It takes a team of people, a ton of resources, and plenty of technology.
The IT structure of the institution is extremely important to those business processes, and we don't always have those automated systems in place. And because we're a people-based place and very relational, sometimes we don't have in writing exactly how we do those things.
Hi, my name is Raisha Kha. I'm the Chief Information Officer here at Winston-Salem State University. Been here about 8 years. So my role here is to help the university actualize their plans, whether it's academic, research, student engagement and learning through the use of technology. We support every facet of the university, administrative, academic, and of course, research driven. And so my goal is really to help the university identify their strategy and apply the appropriate technology to that strategy here on the campus. You know, looking at those best practices and putting in the infrastructure that's modern to be able to support some of that research needs. So if we look at high computing, if we look at the security requirements that research has, we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place to build upon that. A lot of HBCUs have not invested in the cybersecurity aspect of their infrastructure, and so we have to do a lot of catch up to our peer institutions, especially the PWIs in the country, in the nation, to be on par, to be competitive in the research arena.
Playing catch up on infrastructure like research technology and, more importantly, human capital is impossible without the support from state and federal agencies. Programs like HBCU-UP, Historically Black Colleges and Universities undergraduate program, which celebrates 25 years of unwavering support to HBCUs, are examples of how targeted federal dollars and funding can grow a research infrastructure of an institution. HBCU was ahead of its time 25 years ago when it awarded its first 3 awards. To date, it has now awarded over 1,220 awards, totaling nearly $1.1 billion to 944 researchers at 177 colleges and organizations, to include 89 HBCUs across 41 states. From what began with an award to the late chemist at Southern University, Dr. Mildred Smalley, Professor Emeritus of Psychology, Dr. Margaret Weber Levine at Morehouse College, and the late mathematician, Dr. Arthur Granger, who retired from Delaware State after also teaching at Morgan State University. Hundreds of researchers have contributed to their institution's research infrastructure.
How much do you think it costs to build a science building?
I'll say about $5 to $7 million.
We have 6 different laboratories spread between chemistry and biology. Each one is outfitted with all the necessary safety equipment. We have actually 23 chemical fume hoods and 12 snorkels. We have 6 biological safety cabinets and 2 autoclaves in the building. So our faculty have the core needs, and the students have the core needs that are necessary to do that type of research and experiential learning that will help make them as competitive as they can be. We do it just like everybody else. We get the funds to build the building. We then get the funds to outfit it. And each year when our faculty write grants, they build in money into these grants to maintain it. And also advance it. See here, would be our advanced physical chemistry, advanced chemistry laboratory. It is actually physically connected to the room we just saw. If we walk along this way, we can actually see that. And then, so the students have the ability to be in here with all the safety and all that's good all the stuff they need for safety, and do all their work, whether it's experiential or whether it's actually for a lab class. And then they can actually just turn the corner here and be with all the advanced equipment. We have a gas chromatograph, a small mass spec, and all this that's happening right here in this laboratory. And if you look, you're right back over into the teaching space. So it really goes hand in hand with this experiential learning as we ask students to get hands-on, really understand the data and how we analyze it. So they can go from here right into the room with the professor and say, hey, as a group, we're having trouble analyzing this data. But they can sit down and do it, and they can come back in and run another test on it. So it's really great to have all this equipment, and I think it leans to your scalability, because I just got a $10,000 maintenance bill for that one in my inbox. So how we do it is, we just have to keep searching for grants.
I'm Dr. Frank Ingram. I currently serve as the Associate Provost for Faculty Affairs and also the Academic Budget.
Why is that so important to have so many voices and stakeholders involved when we're thinking about physical infrastructure for research on our campuses?
I think when it comes to HBCUs, it's about that empirical experience in terms of you may have lived away, and so people don't always think the same way. So I think you need a lot of cooks in the kitchen to make sure that everyone is represented so that everything is equitable, and so you give access and opportunity to everyone.
Mm-hmm. And so I love that concept of the equity piece, and when we're thinking about infrastructure, what were some of the things that you all did here at the university to ensure that type of equitable contribution across campus?
It starts from the bottom up. A lot of folks say change happened from the top down, but it's from the bottom up. The people who are in the trenches that walk these halls every day that say, hey, historically HBCUs have been underfunded, we've been marginalized, and so even though we're underfunded, we can fight outside our weight class. And so you need those type of folks at the table when you're building buildings like this.
So it's very important that we really build the capacity into HBCUs so that we can create that capability that is needed for both research and innovation. And it's really high time that we get more support, more capacity, so that we can deliver what is expected of us.
There is a narrative that being at an HBCU, the faculty are different, the students are different, and I think being here, it is evident that that is an incorrect narrative in terms of how students are prepared to move forward into the workforce, and that we have world-renowned faculty members who are preparing those students.
The world-renowned scientists, like at those at Fayetteville State University, contribute to the research infrastructure growth and student research engagement, but couldn't do what they do without the support of the institutional leadership in very strategic and thoughtful ways. If you were able to tell people what resources you would need to be able to scale, you've got 36 students right now, but what would scaling your efforts and your R&D look like for you?
One would be staffing. I need staff. Operating from a public university, you cannot hire staff just like that. That seems to be a problem, and getting the right kind of staff and at the right time, let's say, and holding on to them, because salaries, as you probably know, are bigger elsewhere for staff. So that's one thing, and having a sustained effort through grant funding, that is definitely extremely important. And I've been doing pretty well at that, but it's a lot of effort, so the staff would really make it scalable, because I would be able to delegate tasks. And of course, I'm delegating tasks to my students right now, but I'm juggling many different tasks by myself. I can be effective at one few things, let's say, to keep bringing, let's say, more grant money from federal agencies, if I had staffing who would be able to take on some of my work. And then, of course, space. Space is at a premium in a sort of a university like ours.
A lot of times when you build these buildings, you know, the warranties expire real soon, so you want to make sure that we get the right companies that come in that are giving us, you know, the best bang for our buck. And we want to make sure we purchase pretty much the same type of equipment so that when folks come in and work on it, we can consolidate warranties and those types of things to make sure that, you know, you don't, you know, kind of like when you think of your HVACs, right? You don't want train and then you got to call somebody else. So we want to make sure that everything is consistent in terms of what's in the building.
We need the research, the who, what, when, where, why, and how. That is always important. And then, of course, funding. You can't ask a college president something without us mentioning funding. So we need the funding to make sure that we're operating effectively, efficiently, and pouring in to our students with all the tools that they need to be able to go out and be successful.
We offer a lot of professional development. QEM helps with that a ton. The National Institutes of Health, the National Science Foundation. To keep the processes or the planning in place, that lands on the administration, and that really lands on my shoulders to actually develop the policies in a shared governance with our faculty and our administrators to make sure we are in line with best practices and we maintain those best practices. And as those best practices evolve, we evolve with them.
Those outside of HBCUs looking at our research and development dollar expenditures may not fully understand how much institutional investment and work goes into spending every penny of research awards at our schools. And those in the field of research development definitely know those realities.
What do you think the average amount of money an HBCU gets in research is?
Probably $800,000.
And so in FY23, we had over $100 million in expenditures for total sponsored programs activity. A subset of that, approximately $38 million, was research expenditures. In the prior year, we had $59 million in total expenditures, approximately $30 million of which was research expenditures. So that's a huge growth to go from 59 to over 100, closer to 105 million.
When you're like a school like Coppin, and where we found ourselves accelerating at a very fast pace, you have to be intentional, you have to be strategic about the ways in which infrastructure needs to be built in order to provide capacity, as well as to be able to handle the types of research and development opportunities that are come along with the funding that typically ends up also coming along with that type of research and development. So again, for us, as of late, we've had a 153% increase from a year one to year two of our research and development. And so that type of acceleration requires some level of intentionality with regards to infrastructure and development so that you can maintain a sustainable R&D relationship with your corporate and your government agencies and partners.
We do have faculty who have great partnerships and collaborations. We have faculty who are reaching out to the industry. We actually have one faculty that is a polymer scientist or material scientist who's actually testing innovative polymers for a local company. And so with that, we have to grow our policies. At Johnson C. Smith University, we're currently developing a policy now so that we have the ability to do work for outside industries, partners, or collaboration, and receive funds.
Extending on the value of the human capital we have here, appreciating the resources that we have, that they are competitive in all spaces, not just the HBCU space. And as we continue to assess ourselves and realign ourselves to our needs, that it will require more and more strategic thought, innovation around how we use our dollars, even for the dollars that we do not receive.
The strategy intentionality in the face of rapid growth is just one more challenge HBCUs are adept at facing because we see the future that is before us through research and innovation.
For a split second, I felt alone. I was like, wow, I'm by myself. But tomorrow, I'll start to build. And so every volunteer, every individual who has come on board as a part of our new staff, I've had that conversation with them about what we should expect for the future of this institution. And then I look them in their eye and I say, are you ready to build? Are you ready to go with me on this journey? And then I started with the CFO, and then I started with the provost, and then I started with the vice president of recruitment and first year experience, and then our VP for institutional effectiveness, and then our VP for institutional advancement. And so each building block, each individual who started to come on board, even to the executive assistant, everyone believes in what is possible. And they understand that we are building something far beyond what we will probably get an opportunity to see, will be critical for that future. And they believe. And that's the most powerful thing that I can say, is that they believe in this new future for Barber Scotia. And I think there's this level of excitement to know that I'm a part of saving a thread that's a part of a huge fabric of this country, right? And for every thread that's pulled out, it makes the fabric a little bit more unstable. To eventually, you can just rip the fabric. That's why every thread, every HBCU is a thread. And that's why each one of them are important, because they are a huge part of our culture.
HBCUs are building, growing, and sustaining a research legacy for the today and tomorrow that is to come. We celebrate our rich histories and lament, while only briefly, the poor support historically, because tomorrow we will build.
All right, so I promise I'm gonna hold it together. Okay. So you all are really important. I don't think you fully understand the impact that you have as researchers at our schools. I get to talk to these students, I hear their stories, I'm visiting our campuses, I'm seeing the work that you all are doing. And I'm so honored that NSF gave us this opportunity to be able to tell this story to the nation, so the nation can see the work that you all are doing. So they can see what we're struggling through, to see what we're excelling at, to see why our schools are so damn important to this country. And each and every one of you who may not have been educated in HBCU, I was an HBCU grad, Tennessee State, worked at 2 HBCUs in my career. But those of you who might not have been educated at one, but who are choosing to work at one now, you all are profoundly important to our country. And so we want to thank you all so very much for choosing to be at our institutions to educate our children in this way, or our students in this way. They're not babies, right? Okay. So now we want to open the floor for conversation. So this series, it is a documentary series. So Innovation Unveiled is just one channel of the 3 channels we have on this network. And we want to be able to open the floor. So if you QR code this up, and I'll pull it up on my Mentimeter. So this is where you can actually put in questions or comments about, and I'm going to log into my Mentimeter so I can see it, so we don't have multiple screens going at the same time. Okay, well, I can't get that to pull up. So we'll just open the floor for questions and conversation, because that technology is not working right now. So we really want to know what's missing from this story. So again, this was first cut. So there are a couple of other conversations I want to make sure that I loop in for this one before we bring it to final edit. But from you all's perspectives as individuals who are engaged in the research infrastructure ecosystems, as either administrators, as PIs, as if we have graduate or students here, what do you feel like was missing from the story so far? What do we need to make sure that we're capturing in trying to tell the story about our infrastructures at our institutions and how we're building and growing and sustaining them? This is a safe space. Look, your provosts aren't here, or maybe they are. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, just go to the mics, I think, would make most sense.
Hello, my name is Reginald Hopkins. I'm at Virginia State University. But I think what would add to this discussion is really the role that endowments may play in contributing to the infrastructure, because we may have we are deprived in research dollars, but we are so heavily deprived in those endowment dollars.
Okay, I got endowment, okay.
Thank you, Erin, for that wonderful video. I like that. I would mention just the larger scale grants, and you heard the word infrastructure throughout. But a lot of times, the smaller grants separately, they're helpful, but to really like evolve, to really like move to that next level, you need a larger scale, investment. And it's harder to put those smaller individual grants together. But a grant that's specifically looking at moving, and I'm not saying that they don't exist, but maybe not enough of them. Those larger scale comprehensive funding projects that with the specific intention of moving that university or that group of universities forward. But sometimes we look at the individual wins, which is great, but unless you have that comprehensive infrastructure in place or support for the infrastructure in place, a lot of times it's a little bit harder than it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Department of Ed's RDI grant, the granted program through NSF, those types of infrastructure?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Other thoughts, Claudia? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Erin, for all you do. And I know you have these stories about individual faculty, but maybe the one thing that was missing a little bit from this story was the efforts that individual faculty put into that infrastructure building, and how schools rely on just a few faculty sometimes to, it was hinted at how, the PIs are supposed to maintain what's been built, the effort that takes on behalf of some faculty. Perfect. And I think that should be acknowledged.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, what ends up happening when we go to the schools, when you go to the schools and I get to talk to the faculty, I get caught up in the research. I'm like, tell me what you're doing. Let's talk about the cells. What are you finding? And so I don't ever ask the infrastructure questions. But yeah, so absolutely. So we'll do that our next couple of trips.
Jeff here from Virginia State University as well. So thanks to the HBCU-UP program and many other programs, now we do have some funding from the federal agencies. So, but now we have a new problem probably. That is, so the administrative support at each institution need to catch up with the funding we have. So we need to have better support in purchasing, in hiring people, like a postdoc, particular postdoc research staff, etc. And also in terms of management of our grant. So if we do not have efficient support with that, so after we get money, we wouldn't have a very effective way to spend our money and spend the money to maximize the benefit to our institution and to all HBCUs. So I think that's something probably all institutions receiving the fund from NSF or from some other federal agencies need to make improvement on. So maybe that's something the HBCU-UP program can talk with the respective institution and make sure that can happen. And the other suggestion I would have is that many institutions they have particularly some specialized instrument, and like our institution, we have some instrument. If it would be better if we can share those resources and find a venue to share those resources again, because the HBCU are underfunded. So now with one of the institutions get some support for like some instrument, so we can share those resources, we can share those expertise with each other. So if we can further develop such mechanism for us to collaborate with each other, I think that will benefit everybody. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So what I'm processing with that is including stories around innovative ways we're addressing through maybe shared resources or collaboration. Okay. Around innovative ways. Okay.
Hi, Erin.
Yep.
So I'm Nikayla Flournoy. I'm from Miles College.
Yeah.
Good to see you again. So one of the things that was I felt like was missing was the collaborative efforts amongst HBCUs. The documentary was amazing. It was great to see my president represent there at Miles College. But in terms, it made it seem like as though we go it alone, like we don't communicate amongst each other. And just from talking to several of my colleagues here in the room, there's a lot of collaboration going on within the HBCU umbrella. So if it, to put out the image that, yes, we need funding, we're underfunded, but at the same time, we are working together, to try to help alleviate some of that burden, will go a long way as well.
Okay, I love that. Thoughts? Yeah.
Hi, Carleen Turner from Norfolk State University. I know early on in the documentary talked about the impact that HBCUs have in producing scientists and so on. And also, as an offshoot of this, I think a video focusing on student outcomes. I know that we produce so much, so it may be a mammoth task, but just some highlights of some of what the infrastructure investment and dollars and the researchers effort has done. That would have been that. Maybe not in this video because it would be probably too much, but eventually something like that.
So I love that so many things to tell you right now. So this is part of the documentary series for HBCU TV. My production company, G. Davis Production, is actually going after funding to do a much more extended documentary that we are titling Rich Histories, Poor Support. So you heard me say that phrase a couple of times in this documentary because they're supposed to tie together. So he's going to do a much longer extended documentary, probably an hour and a half long, giving that true story around the HBCUs from that greater context. Because this project is NSF funded, our lens has been around the research, innovation, STEM ecosystems, but we have that on our target to move forward. Thank you for that contribution. Other thoughts? If not, I'm going to go forward in the slide. Okay, so how do you connect with us? How do you watch our content, right? So this QR code will take you to the actual platform to sign up. It is a free account. I say that one more time, F-R-E-E, free, okay? This is a research project. There is a research question. So our goal is to be able to reach the general public about the story of our work. And through that, we will be doing surveys because it's all, you saw the QR code at the end of that documentary. That QR code takes the general public to our survey that helps to measure the shifts in trends and the shifts or trends in what's called scientific identity centrality. So our hypothesis is the more exposure the general public has to this content, to be able to see our students, our schools, our research, right, in the significance of their daily lives, it will shift what's called their scientific identity centrality. So me, scientist, the more I watch, the more I start seeing myself or less like a scientist. So that's what we're actually tracking over the next 3 years. As I mentioned, there are 3 channels to date for this project. The first one is Innovation Unveiled, the documentary series. The second is my talk show, which is called We HBCU Wednesdays. It comes out every Wednesday at the lunch hour. They're all under 30 minutes, so that you can watch them during lunch. Where's our superstar, Dr. Washington? Dr. Washington was our episode just last week for Women's History Month, so we looked at math and women in science. And so we had a great conversation about why I'm never going to the movies with her, because she, as a mathematician, won't make it fun. That's fine. That's fine. Next week, we have Dr. Faye Cobb-Payton on the show, and just talking about data science and all these really interesting things in that world. So we're celebrating women this month for Women's History Month. And then the third channel that we have is dedicated to leadership. And so Dr. Alicia Crumpton-Young, former president of Texas Southern, first Black engineer to graduate with a PhD in industrial engineering from Texas A&M in the 90s, who's a mentor of mine. She is serving as the host for that show. So she's actually going to campuses interviewing presidents to talk about leadership writ large, right? Because so often there's this asterisk by our schools as to what we can and cannot do. And so we're trying to rewrite that narrative in a multiple of ways. So this is how you can watch the content, how you can connect with the show. Nope, I don't want to go there. I want to go what's next, just so you have highlights. So these are things that are coming down the pipeline as well. So we are going to start a special series called Giants in Science. And we're only doing one of those a year because it is going to be an like a biography-based documentary. And so the first one is a Hampton graduate that we're going to, he's 82 years old, ophthalmologist. I feel like that's right. But he has invented some sort of nasal spray that Stanford University has already validated helps to kill the coronavirus, or the SARS virus, the family of SARS viruses. And so we're going to go and interview him down in Houston, Texas, to talk about how his HBCU and his STEM research has contributed to this thing that's now been FDA approved and going to be for sale on Amazon, apparently. The next series we are looking to do is, and I can't even read my own stuff. Oh, it's right here. Oh, that helps. Okay. The next series we're looking to do over the next 3 years is called HBCU Extreme. And so in this project, we want to be able to help you all to write proposals if you're doing any type of work around environmental sciences in extreme environments, right? And so that's what we're gonna play up on that. So HBCU's extreme, 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 okay? So we want to take our film crew, only like 3 people after that, thank you. So we're gonna take our film crew to follow this research in these extreme environments and then show the general public how we have our schools in these really cool environments doing really cool research, right? The next one is our HBCU Chronicles channel. So HBCU-UP Chronicles channel. So my program officer, Dr. Paige-Anderson, surprise! We're creating a whole channel just for HBCU-UP programs. And so we want to be able to work with you all through supplement mechanisms. We will help you write the supplement. It costs us $13,000 per episode to film, and that's expensive. So it costs $13,000 per episode and the time and effort. So it is costing us about $178,000 a year just to put together a season. So we're trying to find other funding sources. But we want to be able to do a whole channel dedicated to just HBCU-UP by chronicling in a reality TV style way the research on your projects, right? So that very same way that you're talking about, oh, I can't get my spending down, or my spending plan down, or oh, my PO didn't go through, or oh, I can't hire my people on time. Like, we want to chronicle those things and then also tell the story of the success at the end, right? So that could be students presenting at ERN getting awards. That could be, you getting, a field award if you're a mathematician, right? So we want to be able to chronicle the struggles all the way through and then also the success of our projects. And then lastly, this is the project that I'm literally writing the proposal for right now, is Math Matters. So we're going to create a whole channel dedicated to just math. And part of that is going to be around helping to dismantle and get rid of, we're hoping, this trend of math avoidance and math illiteracy in our country. Like, it is okay to say that I'm not a math person, but it's not okay to say that I'm not a reading person. It shouldn't be okay to say you're not a math person either, right? So we want to try to counter that as well by creating a whole channel dedicated to just math research across the country. So it'll be HBCUs, of course, math research across the country. So additional next steps, we will be on the other platforms. So we are only on Roku, Apple TV, and iPhone and Android right now. Our goal is to get to YouTube TV, Fire Stick, and Prime, but we have to write the funding to be able to get the support to be able to grow to those channels too. Okay. So, any other contributions? All right, well, shameless plug, I do have a session at 3:45, and that session will be about how you all as researchers can really engage in this media space, because we have learned a lot about what our schools could be doing better and more efficiently to tell our stories, okay? Thank you all so very much.
Please join me in recognizing again Dr. Erin Lynch for her efforts. Thank you so much, Erin. We've often gotten questions about this investment, if you will, in we HBCU. And the answer is because everyone should know, right? Everyone should know. Everyone in the world, frankly, should know, and not enough do, right? And so there's an active conversation where we often hear persons who think they know describe what they think they know. We also hear people make decisions about what they don't know to justify what they do know. And there's an opportunity with this project, but there's an opportunity beyond what's taking place with HBCU-UP, the National Science Foundation, just a national conversation around HBCUs and really highlighting the excellence that exists on each of these campuses, through each of the faculty members, through each of the students, through each of the administrations, through each of the families, the communities that are impacted by these schools. It's past time, but now is really the time where we have no more excuses about not knowing the excellence that is HBCU. So thank you again for all of your work. Thank you for all of you who help contribute to this narrative, because I promise you, without programs like HBCU-UP and faculty, PIs, we wouldn't have the content to tell this story, right? And so everyone in this room is an avid contributor to this conversation, and we look forward to continuing to hear from you, right, and engaging in this process with you. And so with that, I want to recognize that this will be the last time we're in this room today. Maybe you're looking for a way to transition or get a different optic of this amazing hotel. I haven't been to the Marriott Marquis, so I really like it. But we are now transitioning for the rest of the day, where we'll spend the afternoon from 1:30 to 4:30 in a series of concurrent breakout sessions. So this is a reminder that if you are a speaker, to go to your respective assigned breakout room to make sure all of your requisite slides and presentation information is uploaded to the computers in those rooms if you need to. This is also an invitation for the audience that's in person. This afternoon's sessions, unfortunately, will not be live streamed, so for our virtual audience, we will see you again, or you will see us again if you're virtual. You will see us again at our reception panel this afternoon, and that commences around 5:30. So for the concurrent breakout sessions, in your guidebook app, you are able to select options on what it is that you're interested in. Just very briefly, we are featuring through these concurrent breakout sessions your voice as PIs. So we have PIs represented across all 5 funding tracks within HBCU. So there are speakers who will talk about their RIA experience, those who will talk about their research on broadening participation, targeted infusion projects, implementation projects, as well as the broadening participation research centers. We will have conversations with an NSF Includes Alliance about how you as members of this space may be able to leverage some of the expertise that's coming out of that area. We will hear from colleagues from the National Science Foundation. So thank you to those other beyond HBCU-UP. If you are here as a representative of the National Science Foundation, thank you for being here. But more specifically, if you're interested in learning how you can engage with NSF beyond your proposals and implementing projects, if you are interested in being an IPA, for example, or a rotator, or if you're interested in serving as reviewers, we're appreciative to our colleagues who are here to help facilitate that conversation, to give you more information, because from my lived personal experience, I know how difficult it can be for your HBCU to agree to have you leave for some time to come to the NSF. And so you're finding a little bit more about that process will help empower you to be able to have those conversations on your campuses. So please consider that. And I know that I am missing others, but another one I want to raise to your attention is the STEM inclusionary. This is formerly was referred to as STEM Central. It is an online digital platform that allows for more connection and engagement beyond kind of our in-person gathering, but a digital space to create interaction and engagement, facilitate collaborations, et cetera. And so I invite you to be present and consider that as well. So again, it's a lot going on, a lot of information for your consumption, but there's a lot of intentionality about the content that's being shared that we hope is both informative and inspiring, right? That it aligns with what it is that you're doing, but also continues to fuel you and give you space to really go back and energy, to go back and continue to achieve at the level that you've done so far. At this moment, I am reviewing at least the guidebook session regarding any questions. I do not see any questions in the guidebook platform. Are there any questions via Zoom? Thank you for that. With that, I guess we can consider this session closed, and we will see you at the respective breakouts. Thank you.
All I ever wanted to do is make a difference, to contribute to the advancement of humanity, and I see STEM as one of those areas in which we can produce opportunities everywhere for everyone in America. So many people have not been afforded opportunities to realize their dreams and aspirations. And when you come in close contact with it, it affects you in profound ways. And the only thing that I can do is outline a pathway that can create opportunities for individuals. We know that talent is everywhere, but opportunity does not prevail everywhere. And so that's been a quest of mine, and leveraging our assets, our investments in a way to ensure that individuals can access the STEM opportunities that are already available to them in this country and beyond.